Brief history of Neolithic India. For millennia, survival meant constant movement and reliance on what the wild provided. Around 7000 BCE, a fundamental shift began, the transition to food production. This was the Neolithic package: cultivation, domestication, and sedentary life. With stability came the invention of weaving and specialized crafts. Polished stone and bone tools replaced the rougher implements of the past. The Neolithic did not arrive as a single wave, but as a mosaic of regional developments. Local ecological constraints shaped unique cultural trajectories across the subcontinent. Domestication fundamentally altered the relationship between humans and their environment. Sedentism facilitated exponential population growth and the rise of social complexity. Systematic farming of these crops became the bedrock of the new economy. This new life was tied to the fluctuations of the Indian summer monsoon. These village foundations would eventually coalesce into South Asia's first urban civilizations. At the foot of the pass lay Mehrgarh, the most significant early settlement in the region. In period I 7500 BCE, inhabitants lived in sophisticated multi-compartment houses. These internal divisions functioned as specialized granaries for surplus storage. Early survival still relied heavily on hunting wild species like swamp deer and blackbuck. Gradually, the economy shifted toward domesticated goats and sheep. Farmers mastered the cultivation of hardy grains suited to the arid plain. Remarkable evidence shows these people practiced proto-dentistry using stone drills. 9 adults from the period wine graveyard show signs of this early medical knowledge. Wild fruits supplemented the diet of the early agriculturalists. This massive settlement proved that South Asian urbanism had indigenous roots. Even in the Aceramic phase, trade networks reached the Arabian coast and Iran. Economic planning was now a central part of human life. By period 3, the introduction of the potter's wheel revolutionized ceramic production. Handmade wares were replaced by wheel-turned vessels with beautiful motifs. This era saw a leap in chemical engineering, the smelting of copper from ore. Craft specialization led to the mass production of sophisticated jewelry. Period 2 provides the world's earliest evidence for cotton cultivation and processing. Mehrgarh became a hub and a vast inter-regional exchange system. Exotic materials like lapis lazuli arrived from as far away as Badakhshan. The economy shifted toward cattle-dominated pastoralism, specifically Bos Indicus. Specialized tool-making workshops began to appear within the village. Personal ornamentation became a marker of status and identity. Standardized brick ratios suggest the emergence of early regulatory norms. The foundations of the Bronze Age were being forged in these Neolithic fires. In the north, communities adapted to a high-altitude, cold climate environment. To survive harsh winters, the people of Burzahom built subterranean pit dwellings. These pits, dug into lussic soil, provided natural insulation against the cold. The Kashmiri tool industry was remarkably dependent on bone and antler. Bone tools in this region often excelled in finish compared to stone ones. These perforated stone tools suggest cultural links to Neolithic North China. Burial practices were elaborate, often located directly beneath dwelling floors. Dogs were interred with their masters, highlighting their value as companions. Skeletal remains show evidence of early skull surgery and magico-religious beliefs. Red ochre was frequently used on bones in these ritualistic burials. Eventually, pit dwellings were abandoned for ground-level structures as the climate warmed. The Northern Neolithic followed its own unique, isolated trajectory. The rice revolution began here with the independent domestication of Oryza sativa. Communities lived in simple houses situated near perennial lakes and rivers. Sites like Leharadeva provide some of the world's earliest evidence for rice farming. Aquatic resources like fish and turtles remained vital to the diet. Polished celts of basalt and granite were the primary heavy tools. Like the North, the Ganga Plain developed a rich and diverse bone tool industry. Pottery styles included redware and burnished black and red vessels. The diet combined rice with protein from domesticated pigs and cattle. Farmers eventually integrated Western grains like barley into their rice-based system. This region served as a critical intersection between South and East Asia. The cycle of the river and the rain dictated the rhythm of Neolithic life. This grain would become the staple that fueled the growth of eastern India. The Northeast was a primary corridor for the diffusion of technology and crops. This region is defined by its unique cord-impressed or cord-marked pottery. This ceramic style links the region to the Neolithic traditions of Southeast Asia. Jadeite tools found at Darjeeling Hading indicate trade or movement from China. Villages were often built on high ground, using likely perishable structures. Local materials like fossil wood were cleverly adapted for toolmaking. Rice and millets were the dominant crops in this rugged terrain. The region was a gateway for the arrival of silk and other innovations. Tripod ware is another distinctive archaeological signature of the Northeast. The valley provided a natural path for cultural exchange between the highlands and the plains. Stone tools remained essential for the demanding work of hillside farming. The northeastern Neolithic connected the Indian mainland to the wider world of the East. Southern India is defined by the enigmatic ash mound tradition. This culture centered on large-scale cattle pastoralism rather than grain farming. Ash mounds were created by the repeated, high-temperature burning of accumulated manure. One theory suggests these were ritual centers for annual fertility festivals. Another view sees the mounds as a result of practical habitation cleaning. Physical evidence confirms cattle were penned directly on these sites. Cattle held a central symbolic and economic role in southern Neolithic life. People lived in hilltop villages, overlooking the surrounding plains. These sites were centers of intensive production for dolerite axes. Hardy millets and horse gram were cultivated to supplement the pastoral diet. The spiritual life of the Deccan was deeply tied to the herd. The ash remains a testament to a unique, cattle-centered way of life. By 2600 BCE, the Neolithic foundations were evolving into something new. Standardized construction became a hallmark of the transition to urbanism. Pre-firing potter's marks served as the precursors to the formal Indus script. Advanced sanitation, including covered drains, emerged from Neolithic strategies. Structured village societies gave rise to early governance and authority. Craft specialization and trade created a wealthy, stratified social order. The classic Harappan urban layout had its roots in late Neolithic planning. The transition from village to city was a gradual, indigenous process. The old way of life did not vanish. It coexisted with the new urban centers. Symbols developed in the Neolithic continue to resonate in the culture today. We now recognize these early farmers as the true architects of South Asian history. The Neolithic transformation was the structural reorganization of human existence.